As we gather here for part two of the Triduum on what we call Good Friday, we are reminded that by Jewish tradition, the events of last night and those we hear of today all happened within the same 24-hour period. By sunset, the beginning of the second day, as we heard in our readings, Jesus will have been tried, convicted, and crucified. We're told that the next day, day 2, would be the Sabbath. And thanks to John's gospel account, most understand it to have been not another Sabbath day, but the Passover, the remembrance of God's saving act, freeing Israel from bondage at the hands of the Egyptians. Scripture tells us that despite what the religious leaders thought about Jesus, tradition held that no one should hang on the cross on such a holy day. The soldiers go to take Jesus down from the cross, finding he is dead. And they hand his body over to Joseph of Arimathea, who then places him in a tomb, where he will lay the whole of day 2. In medieval liturgy, to mark this point in the story, any remaining sacrament was placed in its own tomb, usually under the floor below the altar. Day 2 for Christianity would be a day of mourning. No Eucharist would be offered, only prayers. Today, it's hard for us to truly mourn his death because we believe he is alive. A belief we're going to celebrate in another 2 days. Yet because we don't truly mourn, the sorrow we feel in the moment here in our worship gives way quickly to the joy we anticipate. While there is nothing wrong with living a life in the joy of the resurrection, we must never forget that without the cross, the resurrection, as we know it, would not have been possible. Had Jesus died in a more victimless way, the atoning nature of his death would be lost. He who was without sin took our sin upon himself that we might have life, not death. With the strike of each lashing, the puncture of each thorn and the crown placed upon his head, with each step carrying the beam that would be hoisted up and from which he would hang, with each pounding of the hammer on the nails that pierced his hands and his feet, the suffering that was rightly ours, he endured so that we would not have to. Now, telling you this, I'm not trying to make you feel guilty. In fact, quite the opposite. I want us to be thankful. So thankful, we want nothing more than to draw closer to the love that frees us from the power of sin. Sin that seeks to drive a wedge between us and God. Love so great, it endures the unthinkable, making it possible for us to live in the joy such love affords those who willingly embrace it. Maybe that's why we call today Good Friday. While we are meant to remember the events that have transpired, we are also to remember what they make possible. And what they make possible is given meaning through the events themselves. As we come forward today to kneel or stand at the foot of the cross that will be here, let us not only leave those things behind that trouble us, but let us also give thanks. Thanks for the love that was made manifest in and through Jesus. Love that did not die on the cross or stay buried in a tomb, but that lives today, surrounding us with an unending grace and mercy. Grace and mercy that gives us hope. Hope found in and on the cross. God's saving act, freeing Israel and all of us from the bondage of sin, giving us hope that we never had before, but hope that is now ours, given to us not because we have earned it, but simply because of who we are, God's beloved.